In a stark reversal, President Biden is allowing the construction, his administration is allowing construction of a new section of the border wall in southern Texas. President Biden had strongly criticized Trump's border policy. In 2020, he vowed to not build another foot of the wall if he were elected. But this administration has been struggling to deal with rising numbers of illegal border crossings, which they say makes this move necessary.
Well, you know, what with all the new border crossings, it makes the move necessary. The racist, bigoted, xenophobic Biden White House with their racialist racism, why don't they just set up gallows and lynch them all down there, bunch of racists? What do you mean build a wall? What about the children? Well, they've got cages for them too, and fire hoses and tasers, you know. They have fun with the kids. Then once they get them in kindergarten, they change their genders and play duck, duck, goose. Your Democrat Party 2023. Well, happy Thursday to you, and welcome to any of you know any fat lesbians. You know any fat lesbians? Because if you do, and you happen to be in Switzerland, you should not talk about them. Don't talk. Why would you not talk about fat lesbians in Switzerland? Well, because you'll end up in the can, end up in the Hoosgau, the slammer. You know what I'm talking about. This is a crazy story. Free speech is under assault in the United States of America because of the left, naturally. Well, they have the left in Switzerland, too, and a journalist who is a bit of a nut himself posted a video, it turns out like 2 years ago, where he talked about a woman who is an activist, and she's a gay woman, also known as a lesbian. And I haven't seen a picture of her. I don't know what her, weight to strength ratio is, but her body mass index is. But the journalist, who's a nut in Switzerland, referred to this woman who's a left-wing activist as a fat lesbian, and he's in prison now. He's in prison because the left is coming for your rights. And just because right now it's in Switzerland, don't think that it's not coming to a jailhouse near you sometime soon, because the left has been angling for years now toward outlawing speech, declaring speech to be hate speech. And hate speech can't be allowed, and it must be punished.
Fat broads and horse-faced lesbians.
See, she could not. That was, of course, Pocahontas with her papaw with the high cheekbones. And if she were in Switzerland, she's a left-wing senator. She'd be fine, I think. But she could be thrown in prison if they had consistent laws in Switzerland, which I'm sure they don't, because only leftists come up with laws like that. And I want to get into that because it's a crazy story. The fat lesbian. And, of course, there's Rosie O'Donnell. Don't forget Rosie O'Donnell.
Rosie, big, fat, lesbian, loud Rosie.
See, big, fat, lesbian, loud Rosie. She's talking about herself, so that might be legal. I'm not sure. Got to look out for that stuff, though, because it's creeping totalitarianism. But one of the funniest stories of the day, and there are a number of kind of funny stories, depending on what sort of sense of humor you have, is that Alejandro Mayorkas has announced that it's time, in fact, it's past time, to build a wall, and he doesn't say on our southern border. He says in the vicinity of, did you notice that? You got to look out for these weasels because they're snakes, they're reptilian. You remember when the criminals that drafted that 51 intelligence officials drafted that big lie letter, and they perpetrated an information operation against the American people on the lead up to Joe Biden's election. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. Record number of votes for Joe Biden from his basement because, it's good to be a Democrat. But those people, as soon as I got that letter with the 51 so-called intelligence officials, I shared it with you on the air, and I spotted all the weasel words right away. And now Alejandro Mayorkas, our alleged should be impeached, maybe jailed, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, which should be abolished because it's an Orwellian agency, and now they're in charge of everything, and it's terrifying. It's bigger than most governments around the world, and it's wheedling its way into our pants and every place else. But never mind that. Mayorkas, he used weasel words, and I spotted the weasel words right away. And so I don't trust anything he says because he lies all the time, and he's not an honorable person, and he shouldn't be trusted with anything because he's a weasel. But he said there is presently an acute and immediate need to construct physical barriers and roads, listen to this, in the vicinity of the border of the United States in order to prevent unlawful entries into the United States. Now, what does that mean in the vicinity? 2 miles inside the United States. So what is that? It's in the vicinity. Why would he add the words in the vicinity? Right? Need physical barriers and roads. Just say on the border, but he doesn't say that. He says in the vicinity. So look out for Snake Boy. Look out for weasel words. Let's impeach him anyway. It's the right thing to do. And let's put him on trial for something. There's got to be something we can put him on trial for, right? Isn't this the new order of the day? Isn't this what government is for? For putting your political rivals on trial and trying to put them in prison. Did he ever say anything about fat lesbians? We got to get to that. Also, amazing stories. The Newsweek magazine has a story that the FBI, remember them? They used to be an American law enforcement agency. Now there's something else altogether. We have to come up with a new, the abbreviation Federal Bureau of Investigation. FBI, I think, means something else now. I'm going to go to work on that. But it turns out that the so-called FBI, they are targeting Trump followers, Donald Trump followers targeted by FBI as 2024 election nears. That's the headline at Newsweek magazine. This is not a conservative outlet. This is a radical left-wing extremist anti-journalistic outfit, Newsweek magazine. It barely still exists, but William M. Arkin typed the story. And this is disturbing beyond the third world in the United States of America. The federal government believes that the threat of violence and major civil disturbances around the 2024 U.S. presidential election is so great. How great is it? That it has quietly, like the creeps that they are, created a new category of extremists. That's the same word that Joe Biden uses all the time, the MAGA extremists, right? Are the MAGA extremists looting all the CVS stores and putting them out of business and looting the Louis Vuitton and stealing cars and carjacking and shooting everybody? Because more than 9,900 African Americans will be shot and killed in the United States this year. And all of them will be shot and killed by Democrats, Joe Biden voters. Maybe with the exception of one, but never mind that. So it's quietly, the FBI has quietly created a new category of extremists that it seeks to track and counter, the receptacle of all their wisdom, Donald Trump's army of MAGA followers. Joe Biden is constantly referring to MAGA extremists, and now the FBI is using the same words, and they've stood up a cell, and it should be called a cell group of federal law enforcement targeting the political rivals of the Biden administration by declaring them an extremist threat that must be countered. So we've got this KGB cell at the FBI because, the terrible MAGA extremists who serve in the military and join the police forces across the country and raise their children to be normal and don't shoot anybody and don't carjack anybody. And they've identified their political rivals and their political rivals' voters as the extremists that must be confronted, tracked, and countered.
There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy.
Right. Serve in the military.
The MAGA movement.
The MAGA movement.
Not every Republican, not even a majority of Republicans adhere to the MAGA extremist ideology. Their extreme agenda, if carried out, would fundamentally alter the institutions of American democracy as we know it.
As we know it. Yeah, the totalitarian regime that the left is standing up in the United States would be in trouble. So there it is. The challenge for the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the primary federal agency charged with law enforcement, thanks for that scoop, is to pursue and prevent what it calls domestic terrorism. Oh, really? Have you stood up a cell for Black Lives Matter that burned cities from coast to coast and looted stores, stealing billions of dollars and injuring thousands of police officers, killing dozens of people? How about Antifa, which is a radical left-wing terrorist group, stood up in Germany in the 1930s and now a wing of the Democrat Party? Is there an FBI cell group dedicated to that? God, I got to tell you that Congress needs to defund the FBI and abolish it and start over again with a legitimate American law enforcement agency. Amazing, amazing stuff. Even though the vast majority of its current anti-government investigations are of Trump supporters, see, it's Trump supporters. They're anti-government. No, they're anti-bad government, anti-corrupt government, anti-destructo government, anti-open borders government, anti-government that targets their political enemies, the political enemies of the Democrat Party. You remember under the Obama administration, the IRS targeted the political enemies of the Democrat Party. If you had a Tea Party group or a Patriot group, the IRS sidelined you to keep you from participating in our sacred democracy that Joe Biden, who's too stupid to know what he's talking about, pretends he's defending, but is in fact dismantling before our very eyes. That's right. The vast majority, that's the vast majority of the FBI's current, it's anti-government investigations of Trump supporters. According to classified data obtained by Newsweek. This is amazing stuff. I'm telling you. So that's your Democrat Party. And I'm scratching the surface on some of the things we're getting to today. By the way, Alejandro Mayorkas declaring an immediate need for a border wall in Texas. And they've already announced that they're going to waive or ignore, because they don't care about laws, they're going to ignore 26 environmental laws and bulldoze the snail darters and the habitat of the red-cocketed woodpecker because they want to suddenly they, hey, wait a minute, look at all these illegals coming across. Even New York says it's destroying the city. The governor of Illinois, Pritzker, that's his real name, wants billions and billions of federal taxpayer dollars because he's proud to be a sanctuary state. He just wants to shake down the taxpayers for billions and billions of dollars. He should take it out of his family's bank accounts and pay for it that way. Not that he actually earned any of it, Pritzker, but amazing stuff. And those 26 federal laws having to do with the environment, those don't apply to the Biden administration. Just like the $9 billion yesterday for what they call student debt relief. That is buying votes with Chicago-style criminal enterprise walking around money. What is it? $72,000 per person that they said yesterday. $9 billion. And then you do the math by how many people are going to get this so-called student debt relief. Why don't we do this? Why don't we make all colleges free for the next 10 years? Joe Biden should wave his hand and make that happen. All colleges, they've got too much money. They got to pay their fair share. You know, what does Harvard have? $56 billion endowment or something like that? They get free college at Harvard until they run out of that endowment. And, you know, they're real estate investment firms with schools attached. Right? You know, they used to say UNLV, the University of Nevada at Las Vegas, was a basketball program with a school attached. Harvard, and for that matter, George Washington University in D.C. What is it? George Washington University is like $72,000 a year, I was told yesterday, for one student to not learn anything and probably get sexually transmitted diseases that will plague them for life. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's the problem is Trump voters, you know, people that serve in the military and pay their taxes and raise their children to be good citizens. That's the problem. Oh, Barbra Streisand, who misspells her first name. She's weighed in. She's got an X account. She's got an X post today. And that reminds me, we need to reopen mental institutions all over the country because too many Democrats. Oh, I got a lot of stuff. Then there's the transgender mentally ill person that I ran into at the CVS in Washington, D.C. last night. I went in to get some Gillette razors. And the transgender mentally ill person, a man in a dress, and the conversation that I had with him and the terrified cashier who comes from another country and was horrified. The look on her face was screaming, "Help me, help me." We are at 888-630-9625. I'm just scratching the surface on today's Democrat Party news. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Yeah, the tranny at the CVS who's mentally ill and violently insane. I'll share that with you. Well, life in our nation's capital, because Democrats are, I think, all mentally ill at this point. Okay, we are at 888-630-9625. Let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Philip of Arlington. Philip, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thank you for taking my call, Chris. Every FBI agent that loves this country and defends the Constitution should send their supervisor an email that says, "I resign," put their credentials on the desk with their gun, and walk out. The idea that the FBI is investigating fantasy MAGA supporters for perceived threats when BLM and Antifa burned and rioted across this land, including attacking courthouses and police stations. What did the FBI do? They ginned up a fake assassination plot against Governor Whitmer. They investigated Catholics, and they investigated parents of kids. My God, their weapons were Molotov cocktails and firearms and bricks and frozen water bottles. And what do we have right now? Roving bands of kids looting stores and stores closing, and we've got 2 million flooding in across the border. Chris, the FBI is done. They should quit tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Very well said. And it's, the Democrat Party is an anti-American force inside of our borders, the likes of which we've never seen in the history of this country. Here's another one for you. Fans, this is the Army-Navy football game. Fans' hotel reservations for Army-Navy game at Gillette Stadium canceled due to migrant influx. The story out of Boston, an extraordinary story, Foxborough, Mass. A number of people who booked hotel rooms in Massachusetts months ago in advance of the Army-Navy college football game have now been informed that their reservations have been canceled. Say the game in December, they're now learning their reservations were canceled due to the influx of migrants to the state. That's to say, illegal aliens are being given the hotel rooms of what are typically Army and Navy and Academy veterans to make room for illegals. I am telling you, your Democrat Party, if you vote for Democrats, you vote for murder. You vote for Democrats, you vote for looting. You vote against the police. You vote for crime. You vote for inflation. You vote for gangs. You vote for fentanyl deaths by the tens of thousands in the United States of America. That's what your vote means. And if those are the things you want to see more of, then you should by all means vote for Democrats. If you like more carjackings where you are, then vote for Democrats. The problem is not our guns, it's your sons. Completely insane. You know, I was reminded at the Chris Plant store on Al Gore's amazing internet, we have Remember Normal. Remember Normal baseball hats, Remember Normal shirts, Remember Normal coffee mugs. Because normal itself is under assault by these crazy people. And I'd like to apologize to all the crazy people out there who aren't nearly as crazy as the Democrat Party. these people. You know what I'd like to do, Michael? I'd like to go to the CVS story, the drugstore. CVS, there's a story out of Washington, D.C., because Democrats are looting our country and, shooting all those people. Did you see that shooting at the, Morgan State? The historically black college and university in Baltimore where 5 people were shot the other night at a homecoming event, which is more than the one person that was shot at last year's homecoming event, which is the same number as the person that was shot at their homecoming event 2 years ago. And they haven't caught anybody in the mass shooting, and it's a mass shooting. 4 or more people make a mass shooting, and there were 5 people shot at Morgan State homecoming event. Now, it turns out it was 2 groups of people who apparently knew each other, had a fight, and then, opened fire, and 5 people were shot. But still, nobody has been arrested because snitches get stitches. That's your Democrat Party college campus life for the future of America. That's pretty amazing stuff. But there is this story out of Washington, D.C., Fox Channel 5, and the reporter is a woman named Sierra Fox. I guess I'm assuming it's a woman because it's Sierra Fox on Fox 5, which is kind of fun, the local station. And there is a CVS store on 14th Street. The White House is at the end of 16th Street. And 14th Street is very popular, Northwest, very popular. And restaurants and people go there and occasionally get shot. And that's, I guess, okay because Democrats, And the CVS store has been so stripped bare by Democrats stealing everything that you look at the video and it looks like the store has gone out of business. It looks like it went out of business a month ago. And it certainly doesn't look like the United States of America because the left is the forerunner of third worldism. And the left steals everything, destroys everything, shoots people all over the place, and then they blame somebody else for it because they're the left. They're not liberals. They're the left. And here at this CVS store on 14th Street, the looters feel entitled, naturally, as you would expect, to steal all the things that they're stealing because, it's stuff and they need their fair share. They're completely insane. Now, it's making the rounds a little bit on the Twitter. CVS store, Washington, D.C., no longer has any items left on the shelves. Packs of teens come in every night, they're Democrats, to loot stuff and resell them on the street. Also, teens come in and grab, like there's video, I guess, teens, they're Democrats, coming in, and there's a racial component to all of this, naturally. And they'll take all the chips off the racks and pile them up on the floor and then jump up and down on them just to smash them and destroy them because they know that the police are not empowered. You can't have the store employees do anything about it because they see on the news that store employees are told to not do anything because it's company policy all over the place because the left is pro-anarchy and crime. So the punk criminals grab the stuff, jump up and down on it, and you look at the store shelves, and everywhere you look, they're bare, like the store went out of business months ago. Everything is gone. And here's the Fox News reporter, Sierra Fox.
A big group of kids, like 45 or more, walk in before school, after school, and late at night to steal chips and drinks. They even throw the food and beverages on the ground and stomp on them, leaving behind a big mess. Fox 5 did witness teens doing that while inside the business and even after they walked outside. Staff at CVS have been alerted that thieves are aware of when new shipments come in, and that's when they target the store.
And that's when they're aware of when new shipments come in, and that's when they target the store. And the D.C. police have been neutered by the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party wants to hang the police from trees with ropes, which is a Democrat Party tradition of long standing. It goes back to, then when they were the Confederate States of America and their Democrat president was Jefferson Davis. And again, you got to see the pictures and the video from Fox Channel 5 of the empty shelves. I can describe them for you, of the empty shelves. And, the terrorism. This is mob violence, which the Democrats have normalized. It's a form of terrorism. And the left, it's like, well, they got to pay their fair share, some stuff like that. In the meantime, Joe Biden just gave another $9 billion. Now it's $127 billion he's given in what they call student debt relief for people that went to Ivy League colleges and any other college. And they made a deal with a bank to have the bank pay for their college education, which is granted overpriced, that's for sure. Joe Biden needs to snap his fingers and make colleges cut their price by 90% until, everything is good again. It could be generations. Let's put him out of business. Here's Sierra Fox, Fox Channel 5.
We're told that street vendors are allegedly paying people to go in and steal stuff so they can resell it. When we walked down 14th Street in Northwest D.C., we did notice street vendors selling toothbrushes, men and women body wash, car fresheners, as well as laundry and cleaning supplies, which are some of the same items no longer available at CVS.
No longer available at CVS, right? And then Fox Channel 5 talked to a couple of what we laughingly call citizens in the District of Columbia. They're liberals. They vote for Democrats, and they are criminals at heart. This is what they do. They support criminals. They support crime. They are a nightmare to our culture, to our civilization. They represent the opposite of civilization. They are the left. They're un-American. They're anti-American. They're criminals at heart, even if they're not committing the crimes themselves. Here's a young woman. She's a Caucasian woman. She's a liberal Democrat. She votes for Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and for Barack Obama. She votes for Muriel Bowser, the mayor of Washington, D.C., who used to be with Sha Na Na. And Sierra Fox writes, the shelves are almost... The shelves are mostly bare at CVS store. In D.C.'s Columbia Heights neighborhood, and people who live in the area are concerned. It makes me not want to shop there, to be honest. I just go there to get my prescription, and then when I need other things, I go elsewhere because there's nothing there to get, said Ilana Miller, a CVS customer. According to staff who work there, 45 or more kids regularly storm into the store, steal the chips, drinks after school, and nobody does anything because, and here's the pictures of the empty shelves. Looks like the store closed a month ago. CVS employees have been alerted that the thieves are aware of when the new shipments come in, and that's when they target the store. They also say street vendors allegedly paying people to steal so they can resell and make a profit. And we don't enforce laws here. It's Mogadishu. It is a third world city. If you're thinking about coming to Washington, D.C., don't come to Washington, D.C. Here is the white liberal woman that was asked, hey, what do you think about the fact that all the shelves are bare and you can't get anything there because Democrat mobs, violent criminals stole everything?
I mean, it's bad to do. At the same time, they're probably doing it for a reason. They need those things, but they shouldn't just be going in and clearing the shelves because this isn't sustainable for the store. Sustainable.
She worked in a liberal word. She thinks it's not sustainable for the, like she thinks it's an environmental issue. Boy, I got to tell you, I'm stuck. I mean, it's too bad, but they're probably doing it for a reason. They need those things, she said. And that's why they're giving them to street vendors in exchange for cash who are selling them on the street, right? And then they went to an African-American man who was there, and that's that woman we just heard is the Miller woman, who Ilana Miller, and just amazing stuff. Then they spoke to a man who's an African-American man who has a big head of hair, and he thinks that people steal because they need hair products.
A lot of folks actually can't afford any of the things in there. I'm not saying that stealing has to be the solution to that, right? However, I don't know, maybe if the city could provide more accessible resources to unhoused or under-income folks that can provide them like hair care, bodily care, hygiene care, etc.
Maybe the city could provide the unhoused with more hair care. Maybe they should incarcerate the mentally ill people, and they should arrest these punks and beat them over the head with billy clubs, which is an anti-Irish slur, and that's okay. But that's this is a guy, his name is Gerald Darling. He's a D.C. resident, Mr. Darling. A lot of people can't actually afford things, right? That's what he said. The city could provide more accessible resources to unhoused or under-income folks. Everyone is mentally impaired. Honestly, our country died because I almost used a word, because extremely unintelligent people have taken over the Democrat Party. And the Democrat Party fanned the flames of this, of all of this, of the idiocy, of the theft, of the criminality, of the mob violence, of the looting, of the shooting. The cops are the bad guys. Keep that in mind at all times. Yeah, so they should provide more accessible resources to unhoused or under-income folks who can provide them with hair care, bodily care, hygiene care. That could be an option. You should be incarcerated just for saying that. That's truly extraordinary.
People are at a level of economic desperation that we have not seen since the Great Recession. And so they go out and they need to feed their child and they don't have money. So they're put in a position where they feel like they either need to shoplift some bread or go hungry that night.
Yeah, AOC knows. She didn't know that lettuce grows in dirt, and garbage disposals terrify and confuse her. She's a member of Congress in the United States of America, in very, very good standing with the dirty, rotten, corrupt news media. Joe Biden has a solution for this, though, because, if you don't want the police shooting people, well, not shooting to kill anyway.
The idea that instead of standing there and teaching a cop when there's an unarmed person coming at him with a knife or something, to shoot him in the leg instead of in the heart.
Yeah, we should shoot. Wait, there's an unarmed person coming at him with a knife, and you should shoot him in the leg instead of the heart. You should teach him to shoot him in the leg instead of the heart, because that's your that's your Democrat Party. I haven't told you about the transgender mentally ill person I encountered at another CVS, a different CVS last night. I went in to get some razors, some Gillette razors, and that's when things went sideways. I'll share that with you too. We're at 888-630-9625.
The city can provide more accessible resources to unhoused or under-income folks that can provide them like hair care, bodily care, hygiene care, etc.
Transgender Democrats looting every place. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Kerry, calling from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, where the madness is off the chain. It's off the leash. Kerry, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris. Yesterday, my truck was robbed for the third time in less than a year, $4,000. The police came. It was on Capitol Hill. These bands are running around town robbing service companies. This, in turn, is raising our insurance. It's going to be paid for by the customers. $4,000. The police didn't go to the camera across the street. They took an order, gave me a number so I can give it to my insurance company, who I can't give it to because they will cancel me if I tell them I got robbed again.
Now,
it costs me time and money.
What business are you in?
Plumbing.
All right, and you're a plumber, and it's your own business?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right, and you're out there working, and you have your service truck, and you were robbed for, you said, the third time?
Third time in less than a year. I know a bunch of other companies that have been robbed. There's a band of guys running around, 3 African Americans. They steal the cars. I saw one guy pulled up on a corner on 8th Street several months ago, got his neck slashed because he caught the guy trying to rob him. Police came. They didn't catch. It's Georgetown. It's Adams Morgan. It's everywhere. It's electricians. I know one company 12 times in less than a year. This is crazy. It was safer during Rachel Edmonds' reign in D.C., and I worked during that period too. Safer during the 70s and 80s.
Wow.
It's wild, right? Nobody wants to come into the city and work.
Nobody wants to come into the city and work because you're going to be robbed. It's not safe. Crime is out of control and off the hook. And Carrie, you run your own business. You have your service vehicle. You're robbed 3 times in a year, and the police come and they throw up their hands, and you say there is like a doorbell cam or something across the street, and they don't even bother. They just say, submit it to your insurance company.
I got the camera footage, and they didn't want to. They said no. They said, don't go after the guy. They're armed. Don't go after the guy. They said, we tried to chase, but they have to stop the chase in D.C. because the politicians won't let them. It's not a violent crime when you steal a $4,000 tool from somebody. Don't chase.
And the police... That's right. The police have been ordered by the Democrats to not chase criminals so that the criminals...
Correct.
And the criminals know that, of course. So the criminals keep committing crime knowing that even if the police show up, they're not going to chase them because the Democrats have said, we don't catch criminals here. We, the criminals are our children and our friends, right? I mean, that's what's going on here, Carrie.
Yeah, it's violent, too. It's not... Why should a plumber get his neck slashed coming into D.C. to do good work? It's crazy. Something's got to give.
Something's got to give, yeah. The Democrats have to go because they are the real criminal organization. The biggest criminal organization in the United States is called the Democrat Party.